Hi friends, we are way overdue for an update. So here it goes. This is going to be a six-ish month update on all things cancer journey. And I don't know where we left off. So I'm just going to pick up at 6 months and kind of tell you how things are at that point. Right now, I'm actually more like 8 months out. But I want to catch you up at the 6 month marks. It's kind of a milestone. So basically, if you don't know me, my name is Bridget. I'm a travel creator, and 2 years ago almost, I was diagnosed with Hodgkins lymphoma. Went through treatment, thought I'd be in the clear because it's the good cancer to get and has like a 93% success rate. I was in the 7% that did not get, I was declared in remission and then within a month was relapsing again. So I went through a lot more aggressive treatment in the past year and actually went up to New York City to receive a stem cell transplant, an auto stem cell transplant, which means I donated my own cells back to myself. That's a step before having a donor donate to you. So in my case, it was an option. It's not always, but I had some really gnarly chemo and treatment leading up to that stem cell transplant because they basically need to bring you like to the brink of death. And then it's called a rescue stem cell transplant, rescue you with your own stem cells to bring you back to life. Otherwise, you're going to be like done. There's no way to continue existing and living like that. So I had my stem cell transplant in August of 2022, and it was a rough recovery. I think I talked about this a little in my last video. I was able to do most of the procedure outpatient, but I did get hospitalized because of colitis. It basically does a lot of damage to your GI tract, one of the chemos that you get to prepare yourself. And I was one of those patients that just reacted with it. So I had to go inpatient for pain control and for antibiotics and things like that. And then I was discharged back to, we were staying with family nearby New York City, and then eventually got to go back home. So the going home, the first 6 months, it was a long process of recovery, rehabilitation. And the best way I can describe it is that I felt like I was 100 years old after that stem cell transplant. Things like walking to the bathroom and back to bed were an effort. I spent many, many hours in bed, recuperating and not even like able to watch TV or read a book or something like that because my brain was just so fuzzy. I couldn't concentrate on things. I put any and all effort and energy that I had into trying to get back into some sort of homeschooling routine, trying to give my daughter my energy. My husband was a trooper through the whole thing. He was my caretaker. He was doing double duty as a parent most of the time and working full time. And it was just a very, very slow process. Like if you looked one day to the next, I couldn't have told you that it was getting better. But I was able to, with therapy, with getting into physical therapy, I was able to start tracking progress and being able to see things like on paper or see something laid out and someone could say, you couldn't do this a month ago, or 2 weeks ago, you weren't doing this and now you are. Those were big things that helped me. So if you have anyone that's recovering from something like this, being able to see the data or hear the data or get the feedback that I was making progress, even though I couldn't see it myself, was huge. It was still very slow. So it kind of felt like I went from being 100 years old to maybe 85, 90 years old, like frail 85, 90-year-old, using a walker, that kind of stuff. I wasn't using a walker at home, but just like not a fit 85-year-old. And then it was like, okay, maybe I'm in my early 80s. And it kept kind of creeping down like, okay, I don't feel as old and frail. I don't feel so fragile. We were able to do some stuff this past week during spring break. And I actually, for the first time, said, I like got a little like banged up and bruised, and I showed my husband, I was like, I've got a little bruise here. Like I'm feeling not so fragile anymore. And like I can go out and try and be adventurous and do some of the things that we used to do. So that was a really good feeling. I've been walking that line this whole time, trying to balance pushing myself to build my confidence, to build my strength, and not do too much and not overdo it. So that's where I really struggle, is that if I'm feeling okay and can do stuff, I will push, and then I'll kind of overdo and push too hard and then be recuperating in bed for 2 days because I can't move due to soreness or fatigue or something like that. Those recovery times are getting shorter and shorter, and what I'm able to do is slowly stretching out. So that's really exciting. We're back to traveling a bit and adventuring. We went to Iceland in March and did a short trip there. I didn't want to do a super long trip for my first trip, but we just this past weekend went camping. And if you haven't been following, go ahead and follow if you want to see this journey. We bought a little school bus. I bought a little school bus that we are using as kind of like an RV, and using that to camp because now that I'm 100 years old, I can't be sleeping on the floor. So on the ground at night in a tent. So we are traveling in the camper bus to experience some of the U.S. We've done a ton of international travel, and I just realized how much of the U.S. I haven't seen, and it's a goal of mine. So we're at least going to see more of the East Coast and this side of the country in the bus. And if confidence grows and my confidence in the bus grows, because it's an old bus, then we may go out and do more. So if you want to follow along on those travel journeys, feel free to hit the follow button and subscribe and see where this takes us, because I have no idea. But going on this recent camping trip for the first time out in the bus showed me that I'm going to just have to build up my confidence again slowly. I thought I could kind of pick up where I left off, and that's not the case. There's different worries now. There's different fears. There's the physical strength aspect of it. So it's going to be a journey to get back to traveling the way we were. And hopefully I do. But it's something that I have realized is going to take time, just like my physical recovery is taking time. The mental recovery is taking time. And I'm happy to say I've been working with therapists over processing some of the stuff, because I was kind of over 2 years of treatment, basically 2 years of treatment for cancer. I've been in survival mode most of the time, and there were times that the only energy I had was just to keep breathing and keep going. So to be able to kind of deal with what that meant for myself for the past 2 years, for my family, still probably dealing with grieving my mom, because I was diagnosed while I was still grieving her. She passed from cancer as well. And then it kind of got cut short. And when I was diagnosed, I couldn't put any energy in it. I found that very weird, but I couldn't get upset about that. I couldn't be sad about that, because all of my energy was going into my current health situation. It was nothing I'd ever heard of or expected, but now feelings are coming back and it's time to deal with them. So I'm lucky and happy to be able to work with some amazing therapists to process some of that stuff. So I definitely recommend getting someone to help you with all the mental baggage, getting someone to help you, whether it's an accountability partner, or I personally went to physical therapy that can show you your physical progress. I did that for a couple of months, and then was discharged before our trip in January when we went down to Florida. And it was really helpful, one, to get physically stronger, to work on my core and stability and balance. I'm a tall person, so the fact that I had no muscle holding any of this in order, I was at risk of falling over probably all the time. Still, my balance is a little off. And I'll talk more about that in a minute, but getting into physical therapy really helped. Plus they were great there, and it was just an enjoyable experience to get out of the house to go do something and feel physically productive. So symptom wise, I was on, so basically after a stem cell transplant, if you have certain risk factors, which I hit, you'll go on what's called maintenance chemo. So I was in remission after the PET scan, or after the PET scan, after stem cell transplant, everything was gone, everything was good. But if you have certain risk factors, they'll put you on maintenance chemo to nip anything in the bud, or if there's a weird cell floating around, it'll kill that or something like that, so things don't start up again. And brentuximab was the name of what I was put on. It has a very high rate of side effect of neuropathy, and my doctors were very cautious putting me on it because I already had neuropathy from some of my earlier treatments just in my toes. And it was actually in January, February when we went to Disney. I think I updated you guys somewhere around that time. But in Disney, we were walking a lot, and I thought I was doing great, but my feet were killing me. And to the point where I was like at one night crying in the parking lot because my feet hurt so bad I couldn't take another step, and I had pushed it too far. And we thought I had just overdone it, and got a scooter for like the second half of the week that we were there and walking around. But it turns out that was actually neuropathy. It didn't show up the same as what I had in my toes, which was more like pins and needles, kind of that like your foot fell asleep feeling that I had gotten used to. And it was actually like soreness and pain around like my footprint, so my heel and the side of my foot and the ball of my foot. Just like deep pressure pain and numbness. It's really hard to describe. Like if you touched the skin, it would be numb, but if I pushed on it, it would really hurt. Like my foot was entirely bruised on the bottom. Turns out that that's one way neuropathy can show up. So we found out that's what it was. I was already on a reduced dose of the maintenance chemo, and I had 4 treatments, and kind of as I was putting the pieces together of what it was, I went for my 5th treatment and then talked to the doctors more about it. We said, they suggested take a session off, like a treatment cycle. So take 3 weeks off and see if anything gets better. It did not get better at that point. So the options were either to go back on at half a dose or stop completely. And the doctors were pretty confident that stopping is what needed to happen. I was to the point where it was really hard to get up and like walk to the bathroom in the middle of the night. I couldn't walk barefoot at all. The pain was bad enough that I was maxed out, like before even hitting a mile of walking and exercise. I couldn't do it. I couldn't go another step. So, and then it would take like 2-3 days for me to be able to get up and move around, just like around the house doing things. So it was affecting my balance. I kind of mentioned that with the neuropathy, when you can't feel your toes, it can be a little challenging to balance, but it had kind of spread to my whole foot, and I just felt really weak in my ankles, and like I was backtracking some of the progress that I had made in physical therapy. So we decided to stop the maintenance chemo, not compound the side effects. What I got 5 treatments, and they said that that's something. It is better than nothing. It's not like it doesn't count because I didn't get the whole 16 treatments. My doctor said most people only tolerate between 8 and 10, and I was kind of already at a disadvantage to start. So I got something that's something, I guess. So that was a challenge to get through. It's been a challenge, and only in the past couple of days, less than a week, I've noticed that I've been able to walk barefoot without severe pain. So it's not the most comfortable, but it's not as bad as it was. And I'm like hoping that means that the neuropathy is going to improve. Sometimes it can be permanent, especially once you cross a certain threshold, I guess, which is what they were trying to prevent. And sometimes it can resolve on its own, but it can take months and months to do that. I am going to an acupuncturist. That was really, there are studies on chemo-induced neuropathy being relieved by acupuncture. It did help with the neuropathy I had the first round, and it was almost to the point where I couldn't notice it. So I'm hoping going again will help. I actually haven't started this round yet. I start next week, but I'm hoping that will help the current episodes that I'm having, and will improve that. Other side effects, just the kind of continued weakness and fatigue, but I've noticed improvements a lot more obviously since stopping the maintenance chemo. So I mean, it makes sense that you're not like pumping that stuff into your body anymore, and your body can start doing some deeper healing and stuff. I had felt like decent even on the maintenance chemo compared to being on other chemos that I've been on. So I didn't really have any side effects on the Brent aside from that day of chemo, and maybe the day after I would just kind of be in bed more fatigued, kind of. I mean, if I was, I would have been able to push through it if I had to, but I didn't have to and probably shouldn't. So I just kind of like would chill in bed for the day afterwards. But there was no like crushing nausea or anything like that. My hair was still growing the whole time. So it was something that was doable. It wasn't horrible by any means. It was the the best of the chemos that I've had so far. And basically brentuximab it's an older chemo, but it's actually scientifically the way they explained it is that it's kind of connected to something that will only target a certain cancer cell. So it doesn't give you those whole systemic symptoms that some of the other chemos do. So once I was off of the Brent, which it's only been 5-6 weeks now, I started noticing just faster healing, kind of faster return of energy. And I feel like I've been feeling more normal and getting back to myself. There's still physical challenges where it's going to take time to build up muscle that has been lost due to the inactivity and the steroids I was on and things like that. Puffiness and the neuropathy and all of that stuff. It's just going to take time. There's no way around it. Time and effort and exercise and stuff like that. So, but just feeling more normal and feeling more resilient and less fragile has been great. So after a stem cell transplant, you have to go back through your childhood vaccinations. You basically have a newborn baby, brand new immune system. So that won't happen until after a year out. So next summer, late next summer. But before that, I am doing the only one that I have like the green light go ahead to do now is to revaccinate for COVID. So it's a little bit different than like someone without a stem cell transplant would do. And I did get monoclonal antibodies during my transplant process. So that was like a bridge to get me over that gap until I could get strong enough to get the vaccinations. So I'm at that point now. And then I will have childhood vaccinations starting over sometime in the summer and fall. We'll start that up. Hair is coming back curly, if you hadn't seen. Curly is a whole new ball game. I have to learn how to do it. I've just literally had pin straight hair my entire life that just air dried straight, and I never really styled it and just kind of threw it in a braid or a bun or whatever. And this is taking a little product and a little getting used to, and it's kind of at a weird stage where I'm just wearing headbands a lot because it's sort of curly mullety and there are bangs happening and I don't know what to do. And anytime you're getting hair back after being bald, like you don't want to go for a trim, you don't want to go for a haircut and lose all your progress. But this has been fun. I'm going to go for some more blonde touch-ups soon. And I wished my whole life for curly hair. My mom's whole side of the family, the girls have curly hair. And I was just so sad that I never did. I tried to get a perm in 7th grade and it was pathetic and sad. And I didn't care enough to like try and style it. So it just kind of grew out and looked weird. But having short and curly hair, it's just kind of like growing out and out and out, and I'm waiting for it to fall down and start coming down. So it's looking a little like clown wig-ish, but I think it's fun. I think it's different, and we're just embracing having any hair. So yeah, it seems like it's growing slower too, but it's just because it's curly and it just keeps curling instead of getting longer. So if you have any curly hair tips, drop them in the comments and let me know. Other than that, I wasn't expecting imaging at 6 months. I thought that was going to be at 9 months or 12 months out, was something that the doctors had discussed, but they decided they wanted to do imaging at 6 months. So I ended up having it around 7 months, a CAT scan. It didn't really show what we need to know. Some kind of like inconclusive question mark stuff in there. So we're actually going to go ahead. That was just a CAT scan. We're going to go ahead and do a PET scan. I should be hearing about that anytime now. And then I will hopefully have the go ahead to breathe a sigh of relief and move forward. And then I think we do more imaging at a year mark. So I may go up to New York for that. Other than that, it's just kind of finding that new normal mentally, physically, and figuring out what's next as far as life goes, and living in that zone of life is short, you only live once, all those cliches, they're true, and trying to enjoy that. So that's why it was important to me to start doing travel again, even if it was starting with shorter trips and doing less. So, but we're going to be home all summer. We have a great house and yard and stuff for summer, so I look forward to being here for the summer. We do have one more trip to finish before we're officially in our summer break, and we're going to be going to the UK for 12 days. Actually, we'll be on a cruise for 12 days around the British Isles, but we'll be over there for almost 2 weeks, and that will be the longest trip and the longest cruise probably that I've ever done. But it's my favorite place to go. And I'm going to see some places that I've never been to before. And hopefully everything goes smoothly. We're going to see. It's on Cunard Cruise Line, which is like a much fancier cruise line than we usually do, but I was invited to check them out. And we're going to pack for 2 weeks in just a carry-on. So that's a different challenge you might see come up on the channel soon. All right, that's it for now, guys. If you have any questions, comments, as you know, I'm an open book. I'm happy to share. If you're going through a similar experience, just stay with it. I know there are days that you feel like you're going to lose your mind, or you feel like you're going to lose yourself. And it can be really hard to come back from that, but you will come back from that, and day by day by day, you might not see those differences. But if you ask your friends and family, if you ask your healthcare team, if you ask for feedback on, give me some concrete feedback that I'm getting better, somebody will point out to you that you are improving. So it was a rough go of all the complications that I could have. I usually end up having them. As you know, I've had pulmonary embolisms, blood clots, pneumonia, neuropathy, colitis, like all of the things that, like, if something could go wrong, it was going to go wrong. Last winter, we were getting Christmas decorations out, and I fell through the ceiling in the garage over the car. So just stuff happens, and it feels like you're taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 2 steps forward, 3 steps back sometimes, and losing progress. And it happens, but your progress is not going to be linear. You're going to make it through, and just stay with it and hang in there. It sounds like dumb advice when I say it, but like, that's the best advice I can give. It's gonna suck. It's gonna suck sometimes, but sometimes it won't. And hang on to those little moments when it doesn't, and those little glimmers of sunshine when you're able to do a little dance party with your kids in the kitchen, or you're able to get up without throwing up. Those little things matter, and you need to count them and write them down and appreciate them, and they will get more and more frequent because you're going to get better and better. So I will see you guys soon. I will hopefully have more good news updates coming up in the next round, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.